The world is in mourning. One of the most recognizable and beloved religious leaders of our time, Pope Francis, has passed away. But the story of his final moments, the cause of his death, and his haunting last words have left many stunned. What did the Pope say before he took his final breath? What were the true reasons behind his death? And how will his legacy shape the Catholic Church moving forward? Today, we're taking a deep and respectful look into the final chapter of Pope Francis' life, one filled with quiet wisdom, political tension, and deeply personal revelations. Stay with us as we uncover the mystery behind his final days. The final days. In the weeks leading up to his death, there was something noticeably different about Pope Francis. Known for his humble demeanor and enduring energy, even in his late 80s, the Pope had recently begun canceling appearances, shortening audiences, and speaking in a noticeably softer voice. The Vatican was quick to assure the public that the Pope was simply dealing with routine health matters, but insiders revealed a more concerning picture. Pope Francis, who had been dealing with recurring respiratory issues and colon problems since 2021, was reportedly suffering from complications that had quietly worsened. According to sources close to the Holy See, his breathing became increasingly labored, and his movements, already hindered by knee problems, grew slower by the day. Then came the Vatican's announcement. Pope Francis had been admitted to the hospital for a scheduled checkup. But what many didn't realize was that this was the beginning of the end. A life of humility, born Jorge Mario Bergoglio in Buenos Aires, Argentina, Pope Francis rose from humble beginnings. A son of immigrants, he worked as a nightclub bouncer and janitor before becoming a Jesuit priest. His election as the 266th Pope in 2013 was historic, not just because he was the first Latin American Pope, but because he brought with him a different energy. He refused to live in the ornate papal apartments, chose modest transportation, and constantly advocated for the poor, the marginalized, and the forgotten. Even in death, this humility defined him. As his condition worsened, Pope Francis reportedly refused aggressive treatment. He had made peace with the end. One cardinal said, he didn't want to go out with a medical team trying to keep him alive for the sake of optics. He wanted to go as a servant, not a symbol. The real cause of death. The official Vatican statement cited multi-organ failure due to complications from a chronic respiratory infection as the cause of Pope Francis's death. Doctors had long been monitoring his pulmonary function, which had been compromised ever since part of his lung was removed as a teenager. But behind the official diagnosis, there were additional complications. According to leaked reports from inside the Vatican, a combination of pneumonia, a secondary bacterial infection, and worsening heart function had contributed to a rapid decline. His immune system had become fragile after years of fighting off ailments in silence. Privately, some within the Curia admitted they had seen this coming. The Pope had confided in a few close aides that he did not expect to live through the year, and he was right. His final moments. Pope Francis passed away in the Vatican, surrounded by a small group of trusted aides, clergy, and personal confidants. Unlike his predecessor, Pope Benedict XVI, whose final days were spent in quiet seclusion, Francis remained engaged until the very end. One witness described the scene as peaceful, sacred, and deeply moving. As his breathing became shallow, those present began praying the rosary. It was then, in a nearly inaudible whisper, that the Pope uttered his final words. According to those present, the final words of Pope Francis were, "Lord, take care of those who have no one." A simple sentence, but one that encapsulates the very essence of his life's work. He didn't ask for mercy. He didn't cry out in fear. He thought of others, especially the forgotten, until his final breath. Secret conversations. In the final week of his life, Pope Francis reportedly held several private meetings with world leaders and influential figures within the Catholic Church. According to reports, one of the most significant was a confidential audience with the College of Cardinals, during which he expressed concerns about the future direction of the Church. He warned of growing polarization within the Vatican and cautioned against the temptation to politicize the gospel. In one meeting, he said, "Do not turn the Church into a battleground. Let it remain a place for the brokenhearted, Additionally, he is said to have expressed deep sadness over the ongoing conflicts in Ukraine and Gaza, calling them wounds on the soul of humanity. These meetings, though undocumented in the public record, are said to have left a deep impression on those present. Cardinal Luis Tagle reportedly wept during one of them. Reactions around the world news of the Pope's death sent shockwaves across the globe. In Buenos Aires, thousands gathered for candlelight vigils. In Rome, mourners flooded St. Peter's Square, where bells tolled for hours. Messages of condolence poured in from religious leaders of all faiths, Muslim imams, Jewish rabbis, Hindu priests, and Protestant pastors, each honoring his legacy of interfaith dialogue and bridge building. World leaders also reacted swiftly. U.S. President Joe Biden, a Catholic himself, called Pope Francis a moral compass in a time of great division. The United Nations observed a moment of silence. Even political rivals who had once clashed with the Pope on immigration or climate change paused to pay their respects. But perhaps the most emotional tribute came from a young girl in the Philippines who had met Pope Francis during his 2015 visit. Through tears, she told a news crew, "He told me I mattered, and I never forgot that." The future of the papacy. With Pope Francis gone, the Catholic Church now faces a monumental decision. Who will lead next? Will it be someone who continues Francis' vision of a humble, service-based church? Or will the next pope steer the church in a more conservative direction? The conclave of cardinals will soon meet in secret to elect a new pope. While names like Cardinal Pietro Parolin and Cardinal Tagle are circulating, no one knows for sure who the next spiritual leader of 1.3 billion Catholics will be. What is certain, however, is that Pope Francis redefined the role of the papacy. He was not just a figurehead, he was a servant, a listener, and a moral voice in a noisy world. Replacing him won't be easy. A legacy that lives on, Pope Francis leaves behind more than just a vacant throne. He leaves a legacy of compassion, humility, and justice. From washing the feet of refugees to calling for urgent climate action, his papacy was marked by bold moves and deep empathy. He re-centered the Church's mission on mercy and inclusion. He reminded us that leadership isn't about grandeur, it's about grace. And he showed the world that even the most powerful spiritual leader can live simply, speak honestly, and die with humility. His death may be the end of an era, but his message lives on in every hospital he visited, every prisoner he embraced, and every outcast he welcomed. In that way, Pope Francis will never truly be gone. The death of Pope Francis is not just a story of a life ending. It's the story of a soul that touched millions. His final words, his final acts, and his powerful legacy will continue to inspire generations to come. What do you think his legacy will be? Do you believe the next pope will follow in his footsteps or take the church in a new direction? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story moved you, please like this video and subscribe for more in-depth looks at the people, stories, and moments shaping our world. And coming up next, don't miss our exclusive look into the secret life of Warren Buffett, including his hidden investments and the surprising way he plans to give away his billions. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss it. Thank you for watching, and may Pope Francis rest in peace.